Well, it looks like we are almost ready for game number 1 of this Elimination Finals then. It is going to be Oddball Live Fire, where we first find ourselves with Knights versus Timbers. Knights have looked good in their objective games in every other series except that winners finals. They need to find the same form that we were seeing earlier on in the tournament. But I will say, they were kind of running at people. They were playing aggressive. They were treating it as matchmaking. And maybe they ran into a team of Sinternegra who were more structured and knew how they wanted to play. Are Timbers going to be able to match that structure, or are they going to flop like they did on the Friday?
Well, questions are being answered early in this series already, Dan. That's 4 straight dead for Timbers Esports. Overshield, they're set up for it on the side of the Knights, and you know they want to acquire this. The snipe is going to be in Strikey's hands, and we talked about his swaying prowess coming into the series. It's going to need to be important. That's a very important kill by him there on the player trying to acquire that Overshield. Unfortunately, just too many members of the Knights were in that area. They were able to secure Overshield, take down Strikey, and now in a one-on-one situation, Atso versus Noble. Atso's going to back Noble down, pick up the ball, and the Knights are going to jump out to the early lead.
Something that Timbers did struggle with was getting their hands on that ball in the previous series and weren't really able to capitalize on some of the kills they were getting against Sinternegra X. Now we need to see them do a little bit better against the Pittsburgh Knights, who are going to be a squad who definitely know how to prioritize the ball at the right time if they are in an objective mood. And I say that because we've also seen Pittsburgh Knights in an oddball game just not pick up the ball and just outslay their opponents. But I feel like now you're in the elimination bracket, there is no room for tomfoolery. It has to be focused. It has to be you treating every opponent with the respect that they deserve. Timbers are in this elimination bracket final for a reason, so now Knights need to respect them.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of foreplay from the Knights yesterday during their run of undefeatedness, their dominance so far throughout this tournament. They were almost statting in a sense. I don't expect that, especially after a loss. They want to get back to that grand finals. They know if they're to win it, it's going to be a long grand finals, so they want to get there as quickly as possible as well, spend as little bit of energy. And as combat has ensued for this next Overshield that's come up, it's been the Knights once again in the hands of Atso that's been able to achieve it. Atso wisely just doing some damage, backing up with the rest of that shield, and he's going to bring the ball to his team. With a couple of kills, the Knights are going to be able to get a tower set up, and this one could be difficult for Timbers to break.
Strikey, the remaining player, will get some damage done, but he's instantly swatted back like a fly. Will he come back to life, or is he going to be, unfortunately, just hitting the window a few times before he escapes to his inevitable doom? But 2 players have gone down for the Knights, 2 down on the side of Timbers as well, so this is a big fight coming up. Drift has the heat wave to help him out, but grenades are doing so much damage to the Knights right now, and Timbers are doing very well to stop Knights from setting up, from stopping Knights to have this structure.
Yeah, Drift just not looking as crisp as we usually see Drift being. Nades himself there. Doesn't do too much damage, but any damage in a one-on-one is going to give the upper hand to potentially a player that wouldn't have had it, and Drift gets taken down there. And now Strikey with this S7 continuing to impact the game has found the second snipe for himself. A body shot melee onto the first player, another body shot to the second, and he's been having a little bit of success as this one's underway. Everybody on Timbers Esports slaying appropriately, but not enough objective time so far. Not a real setup for either team as of yet, but you have to think that that's right around the corner now that Heat Wave is in the hands of Atso and the ball is in control of the Knights.
Got to respect the final member of Timbers there, having the confidence to push on his own, even though 3 teammates went down. But Atso with a big double, and it could be more. He's run out of bullets. Help him. Oh, he didn't get the triple. Doesn't matter because he stays alive. Never should have stayed alive, may I add. 2 players probably should have killed him. And those are the kind of fights that are real confidence killers or confidence boosters. If you're on the side of Knights, as now Tapping Button starting to boost his way through this game with the sniper rifle.
Tapping had a very poor game 2 in the winners finals. I expect him to not have another bad game in this tournament. He is a superstar in this region, already off to a 12-2-7 start. He's allowed his team to jump out here to an elimination game 1 early lead, elimination finals, I'm sorry. And if Tapping can continue to slay like that, it's going to be a really difficult series for Timbers to try and compete. It is that slaying power that typically separates the Knights in this region. And just like that, they get 3 kills to their name. The 4th player, he's no shield bottom middle. Nevato can chase him down. It'll be more ball time awarded towards the Knights. He's not able to chase him down just yet, but the double back gives Atso every bit of an opportunity to help finish that kill. Continue numbers, and there's advantage. And although Timbers do stall the ball from being picked up momentarily, another 3 down for Timbers, and the Knights continuing to pick up the slays.
That is the 2nd or 3rd time, though, that Timbers, with 3 dead, the last remaining player, has pushed and got aggressive. And whilst you're right, they've stalled the ball because they've been able to at least have a battle, but they eventually go down, they lose the fight, and then they lose another 3 players. And it's just going to be another setup and more ball time for the Pittsburgh Knights. I think there needs to be a little bit more patience from Timbers, but at the same time, it's very easy to get sucked into this fast-paced game style that the Knights do put down. And if you do get sucked into it, unfortunately, you are playing into the hands of the Pittsburgh Knights. That's when they thrive, when it is kind of manic, when you're all over the place and tapping buttons can just run around playing Slayer instead of thinking about objective.
Just a little bit over a minute left in this game. Tapping's on a killing spree. Tapping spots a second. Some great shots, some great movement from Tapping to make it a difficult target. He takes down 2 before getting taken down, and Nugget, he's trying to get some ball time. He desperately needs this ball time. It's a significant lead right now for the Knights here in round 1, and Timbers Esports don't have a ton of clock to play around, as we do see a killing spree on the side of Nugget, and that could be the start to where Timbers come back.
Less than a minute on the clock, and a long way still to go for Timbers. Gambino, though, with the sniper rifle and after the melee, maybe can lead the charge of some sort of comeback, but you got to hit a shot, but the grenade will wipe him out. And now 2 members down for Timbers. This means Knights can take control, make it 3, and Knights have the decision: do we play ball or do we just go for kills here? And considering they are closer to winning the game just by ball time, I'd imagine they will hold on to this one as they get up to 90 points. And Timbers have one last push, but as they're spawning over towards Dirt and probably Dummies at the same time, this is going to be round 1 going in favor of Timbers. Just pick up the ball at this point. Drift does, and it will be Knights, getting the first round on the board.
The Pittsburgh Knights will take round 1, and if there was a question about how they would rebound in the winner's bracket after the winner's bracket finals loss, this round 1 has given me a lot of confidence that they are now focused, they are now determined to get back to that grand finals. Round 2 is underway, and we're on board with Drift. Maybe not the strongest of rounds we've seen in the history of Drift's oddball performances, but still an opportunity here to start to heat up, and that's exactly what I'm looking for out of the young gun and Drift. He's taken down by Noble, but unfortunately the second Noble gets that kill, he turns around and sees all 3 of his teammates are down as well.
Knights really demolishing Timbers in the slaying department right now, and that's just going to make it so hard for the Timbers Esports roster to try and get any sort of ball time, any sort of setup. Noble, though, with the heat wave, will at least be able to get a couple of Knights players to give them a chance to maybe set up, and round number 2 perhaps will be a little bit better for them. Gotta be careful. Does eventually get the kill, but Pillow God was there to clean up the pieces, and now he has got all of the goodies you could possibly ask for. He's gone to the birthday party, he's been given a goodie bag, and now a sniper rifle and a heat wave is going to be his prize. But now you've got to put it to use. You really need to help out Drift here, who is going to be playing ball carrier.
Yeah, I'd be begging somebody to come get this ball out of my hands. I'm trying to pop off. Unfortunately, nobody really in a position, and Drift makes the right play. He's able to drop that one, throw it off the map, have a reset. And a couple of good kills from Timbers will not only stop ball time and deny it, they're going to give Snipe into the hands of one of the players on Timbers as well. They were able to get the reset of the ball over towards Tower. So everything going right in this moment for Timbers Esports to potentially take the lead here in round 2 momentarily, but a kill comes through onto one of the Timbers players, and as Overshield is coming up as well, Timbers may not be able to stagger the respawns of Knights the way they needed to.
A question that does start to arise, Clutch, is when you think about Pelugod being added to this roster, and you know how dominant the Pittsburgh Knights have been throughout all of the tournaments we've seen so far in the MX region. And now they find themselves in an elimination bracket. Only the 2nd time we've seen them lose during a regional event on the main screen. And Gambino, the player he replaced, is now up against him in that elimination bracket finals. I can imagine there is a lot going through these 2 players' heads when it comes to what they've been through over the last few months. Right now, you can only focus on what is in front of you, and that is trying to win this game, trying to get into that grand final. Points being heavily scored by Knights at the moment. Timber struggling to break this setup. Pelugod is going to get aggressive, though, with the assault rifle, and he is able to absolutely shred through the shields and secure that kill.
Two completely different mindsets for the players, like you're saying, Dan. Two completely different stat lines right now for the players as well. Pelu, 21 kills, 12 assists, almost leading in both departments. If there's a way to respond for the first LAN loss of a series that your team has, I think Pelu's doing a phenomenal job here in game one, leading the charge as far as statistics are concerned. Got a lot of ball time in his back pocket as well, so you love to see that. And he didn't really have a poor winners finals either, right? It wasn't a necessarily individual loss on the side of the Knights. They did have some individual performances that you left wanting more on the table, but I feel like Pelu was doing his part. He needs to just stay focused and determined. And on the side of Timbers Esports, Gambino is going to really want to start to pick it up here if he wants to create this upset.
Is the S7 wave combination, but somehow no kill is found. And that means the rest of the squad can now push up on it. Timbers Esports have lost 2 though. Knights still scoring, or they were still scoring, and they find themselves up 77-18. And is this just too much to come back from now, Timbers? Not only do they have to come back from a deficit in this round, but of course, though, they find themselves 1-0 down in rounds as well. So they have to go back-to-back here on Oddball. Overshield maybe can do something for them. But it is going to be tough for Gambino because he was the last remaining player, but at least the ball has been reset here, Wes.
Yeah, Gambino finds the first kill, uses this overshield pretty successfully, and the ball does get to tower in the meantime. If Timbers Esports are ever going to make this game one interesting, it's going to be here and now. This tower setup, they've got to hold, or at least a couple of spawn rotations on the side of the Knights, and some slays are coming through, but that ball, it's taken down. It's another situation where you have a full setup. You have an opportunity to extend the lead, but somehow, some way, someone on the other team gets behind enemy lines, staggers the ball from being held, and because of that, it just buys them a little bit more time. It makes the setup that much more difficult to hold.
2 drop on the side of Timbers. Ball grabbed on the side of Knights. Repulse it up into the heavens for Atso, and now he can have all of the coverage of the map, but he just couldn't get behind that ledge to stay alive. But all the meanwhile, points are still being scored. Ball does tried to get tossed off the edge, but Gambino comes in. It's a big double kill. Ball stayed on the map. So this is Timbers' opportunity now to really get some points on the board. Gambino, though, maybe too confident in trying to take that fight. As you said, just let your shields recharge and defend the ball at that point.
Getting caught up in the moment is what that is, right? The moment becomes too big. You feel the need to just continue to impact. The pace of the game's almost too fast for you, and you're not playing your own, like, specific screen. And unfortunately, Gambino, he gets taken down, and what would have been an opportunity for him to make a great play. He finds the double. The third player is going to be no shield over towards the Brutes, but when you're that weak, you just want to play your life. You have a numbers advantage in that situation as well, and it's going to come back to bite them as the Knights. They've been able to slay out since that moment, and since then, the ball just narrowly escaping the house in the hands of the Knights could potentially be the end of game one.
Yeah, not long needed now. Atso has the overshield as well, so it really could be the beginning of the end. Went for both the stickies, didn't need them in the end. Ball still is going to be in-house, and oh my melt! Atso somehow does stay alive, but very nearly was destroyed by several battle rifles that were looking at him. Knights still haven't been able to put up this final time, though. 55 seconds on the clock, so Timbers need to quite quickly think about getting this ball and getting it set up. Sniper rifle in one of the players' hands. Nugget goes down, though. And that might just do it here. Although, as I say, that 2 have fallen on the side of Knights. Drift trying to stay alive will do so. Double kill, ball reset. But Knights maybe just looking to play Slayer here. 3 dead. And that really has been difficult for Timbers to try and stay alive.
Yeah, no need to play Slayer. You got the 4 kills you needed. Everybody spawning towards green on the side of Timbers. That ball, it's towards tower. And that's going to do it. As the last few points are going to be starting to be acquired here. No need to drop the ball. Timbers Esports not going to be in a position to push, and it's going to be a 2-0 victory here in game 1 on Live Fire Oddball. It's PK Knights rebounding from a loss in the winners bracket finals, finding themselves in the elimination finals, but starting to build up some steam and get ready for a potential rematch against Centenegra.
Pittsburgh Knights, it's their tournament, is what we've been saying. I think they know it was their tournament as well. And they just have to get over this hurdle that is Timbers Esports so that they can then try and take down the gauntlet. Go back-to-back in best of sevens, get the grand finals reset before they can lift that trophy. That does sound a lot to do. If anyone's going to do it, you'd have to imagine the Pittsburgh Knights are more than capable of doing so. There's the stats on your screen, and as I had alluded to, the Pittsburgh Knights really were outslaying their opponents. Maybe not so efficient when it comes to their objective work, but you don't really need to when you are outslaying your opponents that badly. They probably should have won the game a lot quicker. But I will give credit to Timbers. They were making it very awkward for the PK roster. They were last alive, kind of rushing in, delaying that ball from being held. They were getting trades here or there as well. So that's why the game was elongated ever so slightly. But it means that Pittsburgh Knights go into this game number 2 as 1-0 leaders. And we'll have to see whether they can carry on their fine form into that second game, Wes.
Yeah, that's a convincing win, right? You start to check all the boxes. You got 279, that's a blowout. Everybody goes positive, that's a good stat to have. The assists, they're on point. Everybody doing their part there, 11, 10, 17, 19. Everybody's starting to pick it up on the side of PK. The moment they're starting to understand, hey, we slipped up, guys. But no time to rest on your laurels there. They're going to pick it up here in the Elimination Bracket Finals. They're going to be able to take game 1 in a very convincing fashion. And Dan, if we've seen these two teams compete before, which we did earlier yesterday, it wasn't close. And if that shows you any promise, PK could be on the right tracks to getting back to the grand finals. And this game 2 Slayer, and that being said, is a must win for Timbers Esports.
I'll be honest, Wes, this is how I saw the winners final going, right? This is how far I thought Pittsburgh Knights were away from everyone else in this tournament. And I will say that Sinternegra have managed to surprise me, and I'm delighted. And I think for the region, that was the best thing that could have happened, that Sinternegra have got to that grand final, that they are pushing now arguably one of the best teams that this region has ever seen right to the brink. That means on an international stage, you've now got arguably 2 teams who could compete with the biggest and the best teams in the world. So I think that is a great moment for this region to be looking forward to once Orlando does come around. As for the Timbers roster, I do think they're a little bit behind, but they have plenty of time prior to Orlando to carry on to put the pieces together and improve. But you're right, it does have to be a Slayer game that goes their way. And one thing that does favor them, as we're just looking back at some of the replays from game number 1, is that we have seen some amazing starting strategies from Timbers that have put them in the lead against several teams throughout this tournament. And if they can find that starting strategy, if they can get a 5+ kill lead here against the Pittsburgh Knights, then perhaps that could be their real opportunity at taking a map here.
There's a chance, and it's got to be in game 2, I'd have to say. Rome wasn't built in a day. These guys have been putting in a lot of work over time. I'm telling you, Gambino, Nugget, Strikey, these guys have so much history trying to get to a point where they can win a grand finals against a team like PK. Unfortunately, like you said, I'm not quite sure if they are up to snuff, similar to the Sinternegra squad that's waiting in the finals, similar to the squad that's across the stage of them on the side of PK, but there's still time before Orlando. There's still opportunity for these guys to get more practice under their belts. Right now, though, in the grand finals, you got to get 50 kills before PK does, and you haven't really showed us that that's going to be the case, even in some of the objectives, Dan. And right now, as you shift your mindset towards a Team Slayer mindset, individual battles are going to have to be one that I'm not quite sure we saw being won in game 1.
Mindsets can sometimes be everything. And Timbers, maybe they came into the series confident after their amazing performance in the round prior. But I think that confidence would have been stripped away very quickly by a Pittsburgh Knights who were pretty angry, I'd have to imagine, from their drop from winners into the elimination. And now they're looking to try and make up for that with a quick 3-0, because it could be a long night for the Pittsburgh Knights if they are going to be lifting that trophy that you see on the stage there. The Timbers Esports, they've just got to continue to give their all, but they're going to have to give their all in Slayer Catalyst. Now, the meme that we always say, Wes, is that, Slayer Catalyst can go either way. It is a cliche by this point, if it's going to happen on any map and game type, it's probably this one for Timbers Esports, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is what Timbers wants to see. You just watched these guys lose this exact game mode against Centenegra, so that should give you some confidence. Some skewer work was being done in that series, and good plays from Centenegra. You want to kind of replicate the strategy that they were able to display. And your Timbers Esports, you were sitting in Elimination Finals waiting to play the loser of that series in the winners finals, and you should have been watching this game. You should know something about the opening strat that the Knights are going to throw at you, and if they're able to win the break, if you're able to counter that potential starting strat from the PK squad, maybe you can give yourself that upper hand that you can ride into a momentous victory here to tie the series up.
Game number 2 underway. Slayer on Catalyst. And I've seen the clips on Twitter. I've been told how hyped the crowd is at the moment throughout this tournament. I have to say, the LATAM region really has turned up, an amazing audience that is in the venue right now. And it does seem like the majority of them are Centenegra fans, but I'm sure that there are some Pittsburgh Knights fans amongst them, maybe hiding away, maybe quietly going about their business as they don't want to appear to be biased against Centenegra, as they are definitely the lesser of the crowd. 4-1 in the early stages. Knights have been able to really come out of the blocks hot here, and they've got the power weapons, make it 6. Timbers struggling in the early stages.
And the opportunity to kind of counter what the Knights were going to do at the start of this one, it's removed. It's 8-1 right now. It's starting to get ugly, and right now Timbers are going to have to figure out a way to take down Adso with the sword. They're going to have a Helu God with the skewer in hand as well to deal with, and right now all of the power weapons, all of the sways going towards the Knights, and Timbers starting to think about potentially what that Orlando tournament's going to look like, because this series, it may not be a very long one if they're not able to weather the storm quickly.
It wouldn't be the first time that a team gets to top 3, gets to an elimination finals, but then unfortunately it's just one step too far. But as you say, there is at least Orlando qualification that Timbers have already secured, so it's not going to be doom and gloom. I think they're going to be delighted with their performance so far. But it's still not over. 13-5 is the scoreline at the moment, and I do think that Knights are going to look to try and finish this one early enough, but it's a triple from across the map from Nugget. The BR shot's just hitting hard and finding several players who were weak. And that's exactly what you need for Timbers to try and get back into this.
There's definitely an angle that Knights didn't think that Timbers Esports were about to have. They had a teammate over there, but because Nugget's able to get that first kill with the sword, it opens up the opportunity to lay down some support fire, keep his teammates alive. Not only that, but pick up a few kills. The triple comes through, and right in time to potentially compete for this overshield, I believe, is overshield is in someone's hands right now, but Timbers Esports set themselves up for a lot more success than it was looking like was going to be the case early on in this game. It was looking like a blowout. Timbers Esports have been able to fight back here.
They have got themselves back into it, kind of. Still 7 kills down. But I have seen many a time on Catalyst that scoreline change very quickly. All it takes is one set of slays to give you control of the map, and as long as you're pushing correctly and pitching correctly, at times you really can make extreme comebacks on Catalyst Slayer. So if you're a Timbers fan, don't worry just yet. I know it is worrying signs, but still definitely possibility for a comeback, especially when Nugget is doing this. A triple kill earlier, a big double kill now. His BR is on point, and he's hitting hard.
Starting to hit shots. Nugget bringing his team a little bit of life. They're going to need more Nugget in order to win this game too. Unfortunately, tapping rechows him and takes him down, but a good grenade from Nugget's going to end up in a trade situation. I believe it's 26-19 as they cross the 20 kill mark. It is within 5, Dan, and that's all you're really asking right now, is to keep this one close as you approach that 40 kill mark, and then potentially to make the one play that makes the difference in the end.
Oh yeah, I mean, as you get closer to the 50, some teams will slow down a little bit as they realize they only need a few more kills to go, and that's when you can potentially take advantage of that and catch them unawares, or catch them being a little bit more slower than they have been previously. But this is not the style of the Pittsburgh Knights. They are not slow whatsoever. They are quick, they are in your face, they are aggressive, and they will be looking to try and continue the lead that they currently hold right through to that 50-point mark. The overshield did pop.
They got
in the end, I don't think it was grabbed by anyone. It may have been burnt in the end.
I think Timbers just had it and was taken down by that player on the Mohawk there, but good damage from the overshield player, I believe, Dan. 5-kill game right now, looking at a 6-kill game. Noble's going to slow this one down as he tries to be sneaky with this sword. Doesn't know that there's a player right below him now, as we saw from the observer mode, and that would have been a nice one to sniff out. Fortunately, he's got a teammate that's able to finish a kill. He's going to finish his teammate's kill across the map, and still within 6, so still doable on the side of Timbers Esports. You got to close this gap at some point, though, Dan, and as you approach that 40 kill mark, that's when you have to have it done by, or you just leave yourself so little room for error.
I do feel like that Catalyst is the biggest adjustment you have to make from online to LAN, because those shots across the map, they hit so hard on LAN. It is so difficult to try and escape. In a scenario online where you may have just been able to get round a corner, it doesn't happen here.
Oh.
And the BR shots I'm seeing from some of these players are crisp. 41 to 35 though. Knights still have a lead, but Timbers are keeping it close enough here, Clutch. They are still within touching distance of this game, and with a kill there from Noble, maybe Nugget can follow up with Strikey here. There is definitely still a chance they can get back into this one.
They have to do it here and now. It's a 4-kill game. Unfortunately, a little bit of an overextension here, and the Knights are going to trade successfully. The damage is going to benefit them. It's still a 4-kill game, but continuous trades are always going to benefit the Knights, especially after we've crossed that 40-kill mark, like we've been kind of alluding to all game long. 46 to 41 now, 47-41, and the Knights can pretty much zip this one in the bud, as it's 48 to 41. They need 2 kills to end this.
And Tapping Buttons is searching for it. He wants that 50th kill. The aggression is there. He doesn't get it, but he gets the assist as Knights go 2-0 up. As Catalyst Slayer looked more than comfortable for them. Sure, there were periods where Timbers did keep it close, but unfortunately for Timbers, not close enough. That means the Pittsburgh Knights are 1 game away from reaching that grand final and getting that rematch against Sinternegra in what will have to be 2 series of best of 7s if they are to become champions, because of the advantage that Sinternegra have from the winners bracket. But what a game it was, what a performance it was on Catalyst Slayer there for the Pittsburgh Knights. Again, they showed similar attributes to what they have done all tournament long, Clutch, and that is ruthless aggression and not slowing down at any moment.
Yeah, the big difference for me was between this game 2 on Catalyst Slayer and the winners bracket finals game 2 on Catalyst Slayer was Tapping Buttons' performance, right? He had 5 kills against Sinternegra. This time around, he's 12-9. He's able to not only drop more than double the kills this time around, he's able to drop the +3 performance as well. And that's pretty much the difference in that 8-kill score line that we're looking at now. Obviously a completely different team, but for Tapping to find his footing to turn it around there on Catalyst Slayer, that shows you promise that if that game mode rears its ugly head and one of the 2 best of 7s in that grand finals coming up, it shows promise that maybe the Knights can change the storyline that happened in that winners finals.
Certainly in the winners finals, the game types could have been a big reason. Onset alluded to it. You're suggesting it as well. It wouldn't be the first time that a team has bad game types in a winners final and then comes back to win the entire thing. That being said, Sinternegra deserve all of the plaudits for how they played. You can only play what series and what game types are in front of you, and they thoroughly deserve their victory. And I still do think that Sinternegra can win this whole thing from what we saw as well. I know earlier I was saying the Pittsburgh Knights are heavy favorites. They are probably still the favorites, but I definitely now I'm kind of reeling it back in and saying, okay, Sinternegra have now shown enough that I believe they can win this tournament. As for Timbers, it's starting to look like the beginning of the end now, as we already find ourselves in a 2-0 situation. Even though they've kept it close enough at times, it has not been a situation where I have been kind of in belief that they can win one of the maps that we've currently played. But maybe, just maybe, going into game 3 and forward, they might find a game type that is one of their strongest, and they might be able to find some success, as game 3 will be King of the Hill on streets. But as we look back at some of these replays, Wes, it honestly just was one of those games where whatever corner you turned, there seemed to be a Pittsburgh Knights player waiting in the wings to take you down. But there were still some highlights and some big moments from the Timbers players. I mean, Nugget had some great pop-off situations, especially with the battle rifle across the map.
Yeah, for me, it was the open break that benefited the Knights the entire way through all of game 2, right? That was the issue. You needed Timbers to have a hot start. Because it was actually PK, they got the hot start. They played from about a 6-7 kill advantage the entire game. They just successfully traded out damage, traded out lives from there on, and the overshield, the power weapons, although they exchanged hands several times, they didn't really create momentum swings that gave Timbers the opportunity to come back in this game. It never got closer than 4, and it really got up to about 7 or 8 there at the start, stayed between that 4 and 8 mark the entire way through. And that's a testament to the Knights kind of understanding, hey, we've done everything right up until this point, let's make sure we trade out successfully. And they were able to formulate that plan perfectly.
I think either worked perfectly. They're both fine. I think that is genuinely just, it depends where you live in the world, because I've definitely heard both being used. King of the Hill Streets. King of the Hill Streets is going to be game number 3. It looks like it may be ready already, which is very quick to get into these games from these teams. So hats off to them for being prepared and forcing us into a game 3. I think that says a lot, because Knights have typically kind of been warming up, waiting, biding their time, but I think they are gearing up for that grand final already. They want to get this one done and dusted. Any thoughts of King of the Hill Streets between these two, Wes? I think I know where you're going with this one, though.
Yeah, I praised the Knights for what I thought was going to be a strong game type there in the winners bracket finals, and they kind of let me down. They didn't look nearly as crisp, but this is an opportunity for them to get their story, their strength and map pool back on the right page. And I guess it is King of the Hill this time around rather than Strongholds, but I feel like it plays semi-similar in a sense of you're having to defend specific areas. You should all know how to rotate accordingly. I favor the Knights for sure, and I like where Pelu's headed with that Bulldog shotgun, because you can be such a nuisance on these pillars when you have it in your control.
It was 4 dead off the rip for Timbers, and it's looking the same way it has done in previous games between these two teams. It just seems like Knights are one step above the Timbers roster. This first hill is already halfway through. Noble, the last remaining player, and he's just waiting for spawns, hoping that maybe he can get some PD spawns. He doesn't. He gets tower spawns, which is good enough, you'd have to imagine, but that's great play from the guy that was in the hill, just backing off and waiting for tapping buttons to do this. The backstab comes through, the Stalker Rifle does the damage, and Hill is still being scored by the Pittsburgh Knights.
Tapping, doing some serious damage with that Stalker. Still alive, able to play his life so well that he can double back. He can find the final kill under the Timber Esports member. They're going to completely dominate the first hill. They score the point, and although the Timbers Esports roster is going to be spawning in the back of Tram, they're going to have a lot of pressure to deal with, because Atso, he's got thrusts. We saw tapping with that Stalker, and they're going to have a lot of players very quickly from the Knights here surrounding them shortly.
Atso just pre-firing in case a player did walk around that corner. Alas, the player did know better. Maybe knew Atso was going to be going for something like that, but it's 1-0 already. And this second hill now, and station, tram, whatever you want to call it, wherever you may be in the world. I don't know what station is in Spanish. See, this is where Bravo could have hit us with such a good line as a commentator, and that's why I am just leagues behind, but it's a shame. But anyway, we are going to see Timbers get a few dead on the side of Knights. They are going to start scoring. Rockets are going to be coming up at the same time, so this is a big moment if one of the teams can grab them, and it's going to be Knights.
It's going to be Knights, and I believe station is like Estacion or something like that. Something very close to station. One of those words that translates very lightly. Took a little bit of Spanish in my day. I don't promise to master the language. I am going to butcher pronunciation, but I remember some things.
I think you're pretty spot on. Estacion seems to be Spanish for station. I just did a little quick Google Translate.
Hey, but I know one thing or two.
Maybe
Biblioteca was library. I remember that. Inventar Pistas. I live
That's also true.
Yep. We're going places.
We are going. Well, you are. Maybe not me, but that's okay. I can just firmly stay in my English ways, which is usually not knowing any other languages. We're pretty bad for that as a country, and I apologize for everyone on behalf of England. But we are going to see Timbers Esports doing very much better in this hill than they did in the first. They have been able to keep Knights at arm's length away from it, but now Drift with the Bulldog trying to do enough damage, but he eventually falls as well.
Back and forth, these two teams battling for tram control here. It is going to be the Knights that look like they came out on top on the back of Atso's final kill there. They've won on the bottom middle on the Nugget. That's the biggest one yet, because that's going to leave a lot of the pressure that Timbers would be able to have to compete. But the Bulldog shotgun just not coming through for Atso there, and Timbers able to deny a little bit more time here. This has been a more difficult hill to control than you would think for either one of these teams. They both have an opportunity to set up completely. And as Gambino and the rest of Timbers Esports make their way into Tran, they get the kills onto the Knights. And this is where they could potentially tie this game 3 up. And they need to do so, Dan, very quickly, because if this game gets to a 2-0, a 3-0 lead, they're going to lose a lot of wind in their sail. They're going to lose a lot of energy, knowing that how much it's going to take to try and come back against a Knight squad that's playing very well.
Unfortunately for Timbers, both times they've been able to get a little bit of tram control. It's when the rockets have been spawning. The timing has not gone for them whatsoever, and maybe that is actually an active choice from Knights to push out and try and take control elsewhere as they go 2-0 up now. 3 minutes left on the clock, so still time for Timbers to get into it. We'd have to imagine if Knights make this 3-0, we might as well chalk it up and start talking about grand finals already.
Not just yet. There's still fight left in Timbers Esports for now. But what does Drift have to say about it? Somebody that we've had our eyes on all series long, looking to heat up. Hasn't given us too much of a highlight reel, but the drop shot with the Stalker rifle, that's a great start to mechanically show that he's in the mindset, the presence to dominate. He plays it slow. He gets a free kill onto the Bulldog player that doesn't clear his corners. And because of that, Drift has just made a play to open up this third hill.
We did say Drift had a very quiet winners finals and he needed to step up in this elimination bracket, and he has done so. 18 kills at the moment. Pelugod also with 13. They're the two standout players statistically, but this has been a team effort. They are head and shoulders above Timbers Esports right now. Very evident from what we're seeing on our screens. It's always a difficult one to watch when you do see two teams with this much of a golfing difference, but at the same time, we still have to congratulate Timbers for how far they've got in this tournament and the fact they even have the chance to play the Pittsburgh Knights in an elimination final.
Yeah, especially after Friday, right? Nobody was going to predict Timbers to continue to be playing after they lost 2 matches in their own pool, but they haven't lost 2 matches since then, Dan. They've only lost 1 in that winner's bracket, and they've looked good ever since. It's a shock to see them this far. Well done by them to recoup, to rebound, to take advantage of the format that's in front of them, and to still have a successful weekend. But here and now, it's been the Knights' show in the elimination finals. Drift starting to pick it up as well, and that's exactly what the doctor ordered for an exciting finals ahead.
Although, Timbers halfway through the hill, they did have rockets. They are still scoring, but 2 now go down. And this is where the Knights push happens. Great positioning, though, from Strikey. If he can get a double kill, then maybe there's still a chance. But no, he falls. 3 dead for Timbers. And suddenly hill time being gathered once more for Knights. And Nugget is just going to have to give this one up. A 3-0 lead is there for Knights. And they only need 1 more, and they'll be in that grand final. And so many times you'll see teams just play this hill for time when they have a 3-0 lead, but I do not see that happening for the Knights now because they are so close and they will really just want to get into that grand final. They know that it's going to be a longer night than maybe they had expected at first thought coming into today, but that doesn't mean they don't have a chance still. Grand finals and potentially a reset on the cards for this squad.
Yeah, you don't want this game to go to time if you're the Knights. You want to put a punctuation on the series. You want to, like, ride off into the grand finals on a very high note. That's exactly the kind of statement they're making here on Streets King of the Hill. They're up 3-0. It's shortly going to be 4 if they get a few round of slays. And just like that, look at the kill feed, Dan. It's all Pittsburgh Knights. A couple more players from Timbers going to be pressuring the hill. They get them out momentarily. Nobody on the Knights able to be positioned, and unfortunately, Dan, is you look at the UI given from the observer mode, we are looking at a 3v4 situation. That's a technical difficulty that's going to be occurred for the Knights. They were so close to ending this one without that happening, but we are going to go into a replay. I do believe the Knights are going to go up 3-0, so they will just need 1 hill, but a little bit of momentum potentially out of the sails from the Knights, because I was just getting done talking about what it means to end this game in dominant fashion. Now that's kind of at risk, right? Now you kind of got to step back, regain, take a deep breath, walk back in, and get another point before that's all said and done.
I'll be honest, I think the Pittsburgh Knights could have still won that game 3 versus 4. I think they could have just it stalled out, they could have slayed, and they would have been absolutely fine anyway. But of course, rules are rules. The restart will come through, but you know, a 3-0 lead is going to be a very commanding one for the Pittsburgh Knights. So I think the result is still going to be the same, even if they do have to go back into this game. Maybe there's a gentleman's agreement. Who knows? Maybe that the Timbers Esports players will say, well, we were 3-0 down, lads. Maybe we'll give them the win. But from what I know from Halo players,
any way in hell
yeah, exactly,
that a team is in the Elimination Finals, no matter what the score is, and that they're going to say, you know what, you guys just go to the Grand Finals, have a blast, good luck, guys, love you. It's been real. It's been a fun weekend. Absolutely not. Where's the competitiveness in you, Dan?
I mean, I think you know sometimes when you've been beat, when the team is better, I'd want to get off that main stage personally if I was in their shoes. But at the same time,
never.
I'm not on that main stage. They are the guys that are in the main stage, and they're there for a reason. They've been absolutely phenomenal so far this tournament. And this could be, I guess, you know, that perfect turning point, right? You could get that reset, and maybe you just suddenly explode out of the blocks. Pittsburgh Knights maybe a little bit annoyed about the reset happening, and you could take that advantage. Any little advantage you can gain competitively, of course, you are going to take it. But when we get the reset started, we'll have to see whether Pittsburgh Knights can carry on doing what they were doing, Wes, because Drift, he was playing incredible. Pelu also really performing well for the squad right now.
You know what I ask whenever this happens? And it's been happening a lot this entire year. I ask to myself, and this happened to me as a player, which is why I asked the question. Okay, so back in my day, back in Reach, I was teaming with PJ and Matt, and we were playing somebody, Ryan Noob's team. It was for top 8, and we played it was a pit flag, and of course PJ starts up the game, doesn't check the flag rules, and it's the wrong flag rules. But we play about 6 minutes of flag. I'm on a riot, by the way, plus 15. We find out it's the wrong rules, and guess what? We have to replay it. But they don't take the stats from the original game. They take the stats from the second game, and in the second game, although we won, I went neg 15, and it was a 30 kill differential in my statistical category that weekend. And I just hurt for Drift if they don't take the stats into account for the first game of the series. How are they doing that? Who's calculating that? I got a lot of questions going on as far as the KD ratios are concerned, and I feel like we're leaving a lot on the table here.
It feels like, Wes, there is a lot going on with your brain, and maybe you've lost a lot of night's sleep over this thing that happened, plus 10 years ago, and that makes me worry about you a little bit.
I care about the players, okay? It's the players. It's Drift not getting the credit he deserves after the performance.
Well, performance is everything. Stats, often not everything, unless you are the player on the main stage, and then suddenly stats do matter. Because, I'll be honest, Wes, sometimes all people see is stats. When they look back at the tournaments, they say, this guy went plus 15. That's all they remember. They don't know that guy ignored the ball for the entire game, right? That could definitely happen, but I know you weren't that guy,
like, Wes. You don't play the ball once, nobody sees you went plus 10, and everybody else is negative on your team. I'm just saying, Daniel. Stats are some things, gameplay's another. They combine to tell the whole story of what actually went down that game. Unfortunately, the story of the last game, domination by the PK Knights. Will it be the story of the result from game 3 in this series is the big question, I think, because this is an opportunity for Timbers to catch their breath and lock in for the first time. They haven't had an opportunity to really step back and say, hey, we've been getting punched in the face all series long. Can we get some water, talk to our coach for a second, maybe get a breather and come out swinging? Boxers do it all the time. Halo players sometimes don't get that same opportunity.
It's not often I compare Halo players to boxers, if I'm honest. Although I have seen a few Halo players get a little bit scrappy in the hotel lobby. Shame on them, it has to be said. But as the game will get restarted soon enough, just to give clarification, the Knights will need 1 hill, and Timbers, of course, will need all 4 of the hills. So very much everything up against Timbers. If it wasn't already, their backs are even firmer against the wall now, and they're going to have to try and push themselves away to get back into this series. Wes, I think we know the expectation now of where this reset is going to go and who likely is going to be in the Grand Finals, so perhaps we can start to talk about what that Grand Finals might look like. Do you think that the Pittsburgh Knights have it in them to get a reset? Or do you think that even on the flip side, Sinta Negra have it in them to win this in 1 best of 7?
I would still, if I was able to, legally, of course. Tashi, cover your ears. I would tell my mother, I know your house is paid for. I know your car is paid for. You live in a great life down in Memphis, Tennessee. It's a phenomenal time. I know your dogs have a comfortable living. Now let's think about taking the money that those are worth, including the dogs themselves, and putting it on the PK Knights to win this whole thing. Because I honestly think we could double up here, Mom. We could go big or go home, and maybe not have the biggest home to go to by the end of that. But I'm pretty confident that the PK Knights are taking this whole thing. I still am very confident in their ability. Centenegra, no disrespect. I'm just a gambler, and I see things in that light. I think PK Knights are still heavy favorites to take the whole thing, reset the bracket, and do it in pretty dominant fashion as well.
I mean, we have seen it historically throughout Halo where a team who was the favorites somehow just gets upset in that winners finals, but then do come back, do get that reset, and then it's sometimes an absolute blowout in the reset as well. I hope it's not going to be the case. I hope the Centenegra are going to carry on with the form that we saw in that winners finals, but as I said, it's happened before. It certainly could happen again. And Pittsburgh Knights, if this has fueled them, right? If this does push them into the direction that they needed to go, where maybe they take it a little bit more seriously, maybe they underestimated Centenegra. There's all these different reasons that could be why they've dropped into that elimination final, the elimination final that we're currently watching them play. But they still need to get there to the grand final. There is still one more point in King of the Hill that they have to achieve. Just one more hill. And it is going to be that first hill in Streets. And I will say the first hill in Streets went very firmly in their favor. So we are going to be certainly alluding to them getting to that grand final. Player-wise on... Okay, no, sorry, what were you saying?
So as we buy time here, Dan, I know we're filming for just a moment.
Oh, of course.
I have the chat open to the left. People asking, where is my boot? Where's my boot? Oh, wait, it doesn't start to the grand finals, right? You got to watch the grand finals in order to get the boot. Isn't that how it works?
Yes, if you watch the grand finals, you can get the Twitch drop, and that
I think Watts probably said it 20 times. I just tune her out so much when we work together that I'm pretty sure she'll have to explain it one more time, and that time I'll listen. But that gun buddy is coming up. Everyone, your boot is coming very shortly.
And I will say, Wes doesn't believe in gun buddy, so he doesn't want it, but I can understand the rest of you do, because I'd want to put a boot on my gun so I can add a little bit of an extra kick when I kill someone. In matchmaking, that's for sure, and maybe drop a little bit of body disrespect afterwards with an extra boot. But we are going to now get this match underway. 1 point required for the Pittsburgh Knights, 4 points required for Timbers Esports. Are we going to see the Pittsburgh Knights just sail their way into the grand final here with a solid 3-0 in the series, or are Timbers Esports going to do something different and make the comeback of all comebacks? It would be miraculous. It would be something that we've never seen before. 3 were dead for Timbers already, and Knights are now starting to score, or at least they were.
It would be a story to tell, but what I want to see from the Knights is a very convincing hill here, right? You still want to ride off onto a high note. You still want to leave this series in dominant format. You do not want Timbers to score a couple points, make this game 3 interesting, and then go to the grand finals. I mean, I know at the end of the day, it may not make a difference, but these players, they're human. Their confidence level means everything going into that grand finals. So for them to come out swinging, already get a chunk of this hill time, that's a good thing, but they need to put a punctuation. They need to end this game as soon as possible.
So with the Sentinel beam is going to be able to fry, but in the end, actually, he's not able to fry as much as he would have liked. 3 are dead, though, for Timbers, and it means Knights can continue to score. The last remaining player is Strikey. Is he in the vicinity to even stop this hill right now? It doesn't look like it. He's going to make his way into tires, and okay, he gets the kill. It's the opener that Timbers need, and Timbers are going to have to up the ante a little bit. There's a reference you'll enjoy, Wes, but they are going to now need to just speed things up, because otherwise the Knights will just be able to slowly chip away at this hill. And of course, it is the only hill and the only point they need. 3 more dead for Timbers, and we're starting to see the beginning of the end, and the Knights getting closer to that grand final.
Great job by Adso to stay alive there. The thrust coming in handy, able to play around the pillar as well, and just like that, a couple of kills are the beginning of the end here. Is just 1 point needed for the Pittsburgh Knights. They're going to be able to get that point with that kill, just moments away now, and here it is, their grand final. Wait, all right, they got it. I'm sorry. Grand finals bound. Pittsburgh Knights redeem themselves from their winners bracket series